Eva, can you explain Daniel Siegel's hand model of the brain?
That's a good question. Well, you know, he has a hand model of the brain that I appreciate very much, because understanding the brain and science sometimes when it comes to the brain can be really hard. It can be very complicated because there's so many parts of the brain that have all these difficult names. So he has this model that this is the hand model, and here is the brain stem coming up here, and the limbic, what is
Amygdala?
No, degu. What is that in English? Mammalian brain. Thank you. Is here, the thumbs, and we should really have two thumbs here in the center. So that would be that part of the limbic part of the brain, and then the cortex is this part of the brain that is coming over here, and the prefrontal cortex is here in the front. And what's so important with this hand model is that we can see that if this was looking at me, I would say that this person is really looking at me here. And this part of the nails here is the middle of the prefrontal cortex. And this has really contact with all three parts: the brainstem, the limbic, and the prefrontal cortex. And this is very important when we are going to walk over the bridge to somebody else, when we're going to feel empathy, when we're going to make sense of things, when we are being able to calm down and to regulate ourselves and each other, and to create happiness. I think a big important part is that this part is connected to the others. So when we get really in a power struggle and we struggle for power, our brains really look like this. You know, it's not a connection here. And this actually looks the same if you're a teenager, because the brain has not developed yet. So if you look at a 16-year-old, it would probably look like this also. But it would also look like that when you're drunk. So it's like thinking, sitting in a car, being really drunk, thinking that I'm going to drive really good here. It's not going to work, but you think it's going to work. And that's the same when you're in a power struggle. You think this argument is going to get me where I want, but it won't.
And there is different ways how to calm down your system.
Yeah, I think that what we do in natural to calm down our nervous system, because we're not bad people, we're really wonderful people, everyone wants love and everybody wants to feel connected, because we are hardwired for connection. But when we don't get that, we scream like an existential scream. And this scream comes out either by ourselves pushing out the energy, or we're pulling in. And if we're pushing it out, like I did with my husband, I ran after him. I criticized him. I cried, I asked, I blamed. I put out my energy in so many different ways to get his attention. And of course, what he did, the louder I got, the more he pushed in his energy. So he hid behind the desk or the computer or whatever, and he just felt hopeless, and he put in his energy. I felt hopeless, putting out my energy. And both of us were beautiful. And we did this for quite a long time before we understood what science says. It's natural that we try to calm down our nervous system, but we have to understand what works in relationships, what will get us to our goal.